Have you ever wondered exactly when your coworkers notice you are getting rich? They look right at you every day, missing the truth. They type on the same keyboards, drink the same cheap break room coffee, and sit beside you in the exact same meetings. You think they would notice a sudden luxury purchase, but true wealth changes your reactions long before it changes your lifestyle. There are 7 stealth wealth secrets you intentionally hide right here at the office, sitting in plain sight. And secret number 6, that is the exact moment that usually gives you away before you even realize it. It is a regular Tuesday lunch break. The whole room is talking about the cost of groceries and rent hikes. 2 years ago, this exact conversation used to make your chest tight, the fear of prices rising while your paycheck stayed flat. It was a quiet, constant panic that followed you into every meeting. But today, you feel absolutely nothing. Then Mark sits down. He flashes a brand new, oversized smartwatch, but immediately starts complaining that his current salary is not enough to survive. You listen to him stress over credit card bills, realizing he upgrades his entire lifestyle every single time he gets a small bonus. It is a textbook case of lifestyle inflation. He is making more money than ever, but feeling poorer every single month. You just sit there, in silence. Not because you do not care, not because you are a millionaire, but because you refuse to play along. While everyone else inflated their lives, you kept your expenses exactly the same, quietly building an invisible financial shield around yourself. Do you know what the very first real secret of stealth wealth actually looks like in a crowded corporate office? It is the absolute silence on payday. You just do not need it anymore. An emergency all-hands meeting is called at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Usually this means one thing: restructuring. The calendar invite pops up with no agenda. You watch the entire office floor go completely silent in a matter of seconds. 2 years ago, an invite exactly like this would have ruined your entire month. You would be calculating rent instantly. One email. Pure, unfiltered panic. But as you walk into the glass meeting room today, your heart rate does not even slightly elevate. Have you ever watched people realize they are entirely trapped by their own paychecks? Mark sits across from you, his flashy smartwatch vibrating. He is sweating rapidly, typing on his phone to check his credit limit. He looks wealthy, but in this room, he is terrified. He needs this specific job to pay for his inflated lifestyle. It is not because he lacks skills, not because he is a bad worker, but because he has zero financial runway. High income. Zero actual freedom. While they were buying things to look rich, you were quietly buying something much more valuable: your own freedom to walk away. It is called FU money. An emergency fund so deep that a sudden layoff just feels like an unexpected paid vacation. True wealth is not hoping you never get fired. True wealth is simply not caring if you do. You sip your water, knowing you could sit at home for 2 entire years without earning a single penny. This is the second secret you hide. Not your bank balance, but your terrifyingly calm reaction to their absolute worst-case scenario. A single silver thread. A tiny stitched logo on a jacket collar. That is exactly what most people think wealth actually looks like. It is the annual company client dinner. Everyone is visibly stressed, swiping credit cards to buy an outfit that loudly screams professional success. Mark walks into the room wearing a brand new, wildly expensive, tailored vest. The designer logo is practically flashing like a neon sign on his chest. You watch him drape it carefully over his chair, making absolutely sure that every single person in the room notices the luxury brand name. He just spent half of his monthly paycheck to buy a temporary halo effect. He essentially purchased fake wearable authority to impress strangers. But the tragic irony of lifestyle inflation is this: the more expensive the visible logo, the tighter the invisible financial pressure becomes on him. That shiny golden emblem on his chest might as well be a heavy metal handcuff permanently tying him to his corporate desk. Meanwhile, you quietly arrive, wearing a plain, unbranded shirt. No logos, no flash, no desperate need to be perceived by anyone else. 3 years ago, you would have felt completely underdressed in this room. You would have apologized for looking so incredibly ordinary and plain. But today you realize something deeply profound about money. True wealth is completely invisible. It simply does not need a walking billboard. You sit next to Mark at the table. He looks wealthy to the junior staff, but you can clearly see the deep exhaustion in his eyes. He is paying a massive opportunity cost every single month just to maintain a fragile, stressful illusion of being a rich man. This is your fourth stealth wealth secret. Your wardrobe is intentionally boring, serving as a perfect camouflage in a very loud room. While they proudly wear their entire net worth on their sleeves, you keep your money quietly compounding in the background, out of sight. Because real untouchable power is walking into a crowded room and knowing you need absolutely nothing from anyone in it. You think exciting investments make you rich quickly. But real compounding wealth is painfully, beautifully boring. It is 1:30 in the afternoon. Mark slams his hand on the table, bragging about a hot stock tip he bought this morning. He laughs at index funds, calling them a slow trap for people who lack courage and ambition to win big. You take a bite of your lunch, completely unfazed. You do not argue, you do not try to convince him. Because under your desk, a boring total stock market index fund is quietly compounding month after month, year after year. 2 weeks later, the hype stock collapses. You watch Mark silently stare at his phone, his face drained of all color. He lost 3 months of savings in 48 hours. He was gambling, but calling it an investment strategy. This is your fifth stealth wealth secret. Your portfolio is so boring it would make a stockbroker fall fast asleep. No meme stocks, no crypto casinos, just broad market growth rolling like a snowball that gets bigger every single winter. And then comes secret number 6, the exact moment we promised would give you away long before you say a word. It is time to split a group dinner bill. While others pull out calculators and stress over taxes, you drop your card down without checking. You remember when splitting an even bill felt deeply unfair because you only ordered a side salad? Every dollar used to hurt. But today, your time and mental peace are worth far more than 10 extra dollars. Frictionless living is the ultimate luxury. Your coworkers look at you in that exact moment. They do not see a flex. They see something far more intimidating. Zero stress. You pick up your coat and walk away. Secret 6 is out in the open, and you didn't even have to say a single word. A company-wide email announces a new management track. It comes with a massive 20% pay bump, but completely demands your weekends. Mark instantly applies. He desperately needs that extra cash flow just to keep up with his expanding credit card bills. Corporate culture expects everyone to blindly climb this ladder, trading their health and sanity for a slightly bigger paycheck. When your manager pulls you aside and offers you the exact same stressful promotion, you do something completely unexpected. You smile, thank them, and politely decline. The room goes dead silent. Nobody turns down more money. This is secret number 3. You have quietly reached a point where your personal time is simply too expensive to buy. Mark gets the role. A month later, you see him sitting at his desk at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. He sends aggressive emails late at night, trying to prove his worth, rubbing his tired eyes under harsh fluorescent lights. He is successfully trading the best years of his life just to afford a lifestyle that keeps him trapped in that exact chair. You have discovered a concept called time wealth. It is the realization that a high salary is completely useless if you have 0 hours left. So at exactly 5 p.m., you quietly close your laptop. No extra hours, no desperate need to prove your corporate loyalty. While Mark stays behind, chained to his brand new salary, you walk out into the warm evening sun, feeling completely, utterly free. You are not lazy. You are just playing a completely different game, one where gaining absolute control over your schedule is the ultimate prize. True wealth is not a higher salary bracket. True wealth is the absolute ability to buy back your own life. You are essentially retired in your own mind, hiding in plain sight as a regular employee. But this disguise is starting to slip. It happens during a heated project review. Everyone is aggressively talking over each other, desperately fighting to claim credit for a minor success. In the corporate world, visibility equals survival. If you do not fight for the spotlight, people assume you are completely failing. They view success as a tiny zero-sum pie. But your financial pie is already quietly baking in a completely different oven. Mark interrupts a junior designer raising his voice to ensure the director knows he was involved. His desperation fills the room. He needs this end-of-year bonus just to cover his inflated rent. His expensive suit cannot hide his absolute silent panic. You just lean back and let him speak. You willingly hand over the project credit without a single ounce of resentment. This is the leverage of total indifference. When you no longer need the money, you stop playing their toxic status games. You realize that office politics is essentially a desperate game designed for people who are entirely dependent on their next paycheck. After the meeting, a quiet junior coworker approaches your desk. They look completely confused by your total lack of defensive ego. You just smile and offer a vague answer. You cannot tell them that your hidden net worth generates more than this project. This is the true halo effect of quiet wealth. It does not look like arrogance. It looks like an unshakable, deep peace. While they trade their mental health for corporate validation, you are quietly trading your salary for permanent, untouchable financial independence. Your disguise as a stressed, normal employee is officially breaking. They do not know your net worth, but they feel it. And this leads us directly to the seventh and final stealth wealth secret. The one that changes absolutely everything. It is November. The annual performance review cycle officially begins, casting a dark cloud of anxiety over the entire office floor. Everyone is terrified. A bad rating does not just mean a bruised ego. It means a smaller bonus and real financial danger. You watch Mark frantically assembling a 60-page presentation, desperately trying to justify his corporate existence to executives who barely know him. He looks 5 years older than he did just 12 months ago. The heavy, invisible weight of his lifestyle is finally crushing him. But when your manager calls your name, you walk into the glass office without a single note. You feel absolutely no pressure. This is secret number 7. You have quietly reached the most profound financial milestone of all, the ultimate crossover point. It is the exact mathematical moment when your boring, invisible investments generate more passive income than your basic monthly living expenses. A quiet golden line crosses above your expenses. The math is simple, but the psychological shift is absolutely massive. You sit and listen to your manager critique your performance, but their serious words seem to just float harmlessly through the air. Not because you are arrogant, not because you are a bad employee, but because their financial leverage over you is entirely gone. They could deny your yearly bonus. They could even fire you today. Your daily lifestyle would not change by a single inch. So you just nod, smile politely, and agree to their feedback, playing the part of a compliant corporate worker perfectly. They genuinely think they are managing your career. But in reality, you are just quietly managing your own exit timeline. The sweet, silent victory of stealth wealth is realizing the game is already over. You officially won, and nobody heard the buzzer. But keeping this massive secret becomes incredibly difficult when the fragile cracks in your coworkers' lives finally start to shatter completely. It happens on a rainy Tuesday. A brief, cold email from corporate announcing that all year-end bonuses are officially canceled. For you, it is a mild disappointment. But for the rest of the floor, it is an absolute terrifying financial catastrophe. Mark stares at his monitor, completely paralyzed. His entire life was tightly budgeted around a bonus that no longer exists. He had already spent that invisible money. The expensive vest, the luxury smartwatch, It was all financed by a future that just disappeared. You watch his carefully crafted image of success crumble in real time. The illusion of his wealth has finally shattered. Later that afternoon, you find him sitting alone in the break room. The usual arrogant confidence is completely gone from his face. He does not brag about his investments today. Instead, his voice shakes as he quietly admits he cannot make his next mortgage payment. He confesses that his credit cards are completely maxed out. Behind the loud suit, he is technically poorer than a broke college student. You listen in silence. You do not judge him, and you certainly do not mention your own perfectly funded investment accounts. This is the tragedy of fake wealth. It requires constant, exhausting maintenance, feeding an invisible debt shadow that is never fully satisfied. You look down at your plain, unbranded shirt. For the first time, you deeply realize the immense privilege of simply being boring. Not because you have a higher corporate title, not because you are smarter, but because you consciously stepped off the treadmill entirely. True financial freedom is not being able to buy whatever you want. It is having absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone. Another coworker walks by and notices you sitting perfectly calm amidst the office panic. They stop looking closely at your relaxed posture. They look at your calm face, then at Mark's total panic. The silent, undeniable truth of your stealth wealth finally clicks into place. The very next morning, that observant coworker quietly approaches your desk again. But this time, their entire demeanor has changed. For years, they chased the flashy corporate lifestyle. Now they quietly admit they feel completely exhausted and severely behind on real wealth. They point to your plain coffee cup, admitting they used to secretly pity your incredibly boring and frugal daily choices. Not because they were mean, not because they hated you, but because they were deeply blinded by constant social comparison. A heavy, invisible trap that forces people to spend money they do not have. You realize that most people spend their entire lives buying expensive things just to prove to strangers that they have money. You think building wealth is about learning new investment tricks. But it is actually about unlearning incredibly toxic societal money habits. It is the invisible base of an iceberg, the massive hidden financial foundation that keeps you perfectly afloat during storms. You watch the exact moment their perspective completely flips. They finally understand that looking rich is not being rich. They walk away, leaving you with the ultimate reward of stealth wealth: quiet respect. No words needed. Later that same week, you sit alone at your desk. You open your bottom drawer and pull out a single folder. It is not a demanding project brief. It is a formal, polite request to transition out of your role into part-time consulting. You think quitting a job has to be a dramatic, loud event. But true wealthy departures are actually incredibly anticlimactic and quiet. Not a fiery speech, not a massive office celebration, just a simple, peaceful signature marking the end of an era, the final, ultimate step. You look out over the office, knowing you are completely free. It is your final week at the office. You are quietly packing a single, small cardboard box at your desk. No one threw a massive farewell party. You did not announce your net worth. You just quietly faded into the background. But before you leave, you walk into the break room for one last cup of that terrible, cheap corporate coffee from day one. Mark is sitting there. His flashy designer vest is gone. His oversized smartwatch is missing. He looks completely exhausted, but finally honest. He watches you sip your coffee. You are wearing the exact same plain, unbranded clothes you wore on your first day. And right in that quiet moment, the original question is finally answered. When do people actually realize you are rich? They never notice it when you upgrade your car. They never notice it when you buy a shiny designer label. They notice it in the absolute unshakable peace in your eyes when you realize you never have to come back here ever again. Mark gives you a small, tired nod. He finally understands the long, quiet game you were playing all along. You smile back, pick up your simple mug, and walk out the door. No applause, no audience, just you. Because the ultimate goal of stealth wealth was never, ever to be seen as a millionaire. The goal was simply to disappear into your own perfect, quiet, untouchable freedom. The corporate game is officially over. You won. The characters and stories in this video are fictional and created for illustrative purposes based on common financial situations, not real individuals. The content in this video is for entertainment and illustrative purposes about money psychology and is not investment or personal financial advice. Please do your own research or consult a licensed financial professional before making decisions.